Emocjonujących wrażeń życzy Energa z Grupy Orlen. Sponsor strategiczny festiwalu EnergaCAMERIMAGE.
Electronic medical services available to the residents of the Kujawsko-Pomorskie Voivodeship. Results from ultrasound and X-ray machines are immediately transferred onto the doctor's computer and are available online. What does it mean for you? Faster diagnostics, no waiting in queues, easy communication with doctors from different units and access to test results at any time. We provide electronic medical documentation for you.
Toruń znajduje się na liście Światowego Dziedzictwa Kulturowego UNESCO. To też miejsce, które kocha film z wzajemnością, stając się planem zdjęciowym dla wielu produkcji. Ciekawe plenery pomoże Ci szybko znaleźć kujawsko-pomorski geoportal. Największa przestrzenna baza wiedzy o regionie. To publiczny, darmowy, dostępny dla każdego zbiór map. Prezentuje m.in. ponad 1 000 000 działek, budynków, drogi, placówki oświatowe, zabytki i obszary chronione. Wejdź na geoportal Mój Region Info i kręć w Kujawsko-Pomorskiem.
Odpręż się i daj się porwać emocjom.
Prawdziwe przeżycie. Coś dla każdego.
Spędź jesień z kanałami Filmbox.
Poruszające biografie.
Uciekam przed nienawiścią.
Historyczne zwycięstwa. Filmy pełne wzruszeń i emocji.
Raz się żyje.
W listopadzie w Kino Polska.
Włącz RMF Classic i zmień swój świat. RMF Classic. Najpiękniejsza muzyka filmowa.
Fakty RMF. Najbardziej wiarygodne źródło informacji. RMF FM. Radio numer 1 w Polsce.
Szybka, intuicyjna, przejrzysta, nowa RP.pl. Polecam redaktor naczelny Cezary Szymanek.
Nadszedł czas, by usiąść w kinowym fotelu. Poczuć dreszcz filmowych emocji. Otoczyć się ekranami Screen X. Poczuć każdy ruch i zakręt z 4DX. I powtórzyć to kolejny raz i kolejny. Ile tylko chcesz. Najwyższy czas poczuć magię kina. W najlepszym wydaniu. Przeżywaj więcej. Cinecittà.
Partnerem motoryzacyjnym festiwalu kamer Image jest Autofrenik, autoryzowany dealer Mercedes-Benz.
Chcesz być z nami? Zaszczep się.
Hello, Vittorio. Thank you for joining us at CAMERIMAGE Festival, and now we can start the Masterclass.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this long journey that I did with Bernardo Bertolucci. I'm sorry, everybody, I cannot be there, because a few days ago I made the third vaccine, and the doctor said to me soon after that, you cannot take a plane for 2 weeks. So unfortunately, practically I'm at home from Rome. But the feeling is great. It's wonderful to hear again the music of CAMERIMAGE, a place that I practically know very well since almost 30 years. And I'm glad today that I can share with you my long journey that I did with Bernardo Bertolucci. The journey really started in 1963. A friend of mine, Camillo Bazzoni, he was a camera operator of Aldo Scavarda, a very good cinematographer at that time, and invited me to, I was an assistant cameraman, to go to the city of Parma to start a small film that at that time Italian television was producing film for television. And one of those was made by a very young director. A friend of mine said, he looked like he's a very interesting person. I think, Vittorio, you should come with us. I went, and the picture was before the revolution. Practically, first film made by Bernardo Bertolucci. The incredible feeling that I had at that moment, that I already worked with several directors. Soon after I finished my school time, from 5 years in photography and 4 years in cinematography, including the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia. Later I did some, let's say, movie with some director. But I never saw a young director. Bernardo was 22 years old. I was 23. They practically, every morning he was coming on the set, he was taking his own viewfinder, he was trying to look on the empty space, to how to visualize the world there in his mind. Soon after that, when he had at least the actor, he was starting to double check everything through a camera. And when the cinematographer was asking to him, Bernardo, if you need any help, I mean, I'm here, I can give you any information or any consigli, whatever. And Bernardo said, no, Aldo, please, let me alone, because this is something that really have to be something very personal that I have to do. I didn't know at that time why he was so strong in the fact that he wants to absolutely decide his own frame, his own movement in the camera, his own any relationship between the movement of the camera and what the story was about. Later, I know the story because he is the son of one of the greatest writer and poet at that time, Attilio Bertolucci. And of course, any one of us, they can have a great father, try to be on his father's step. In fact, at the beginning, Bernardo was trying to write, try to be a poet himself. When he was 18 when he gained an award for young poet in Italy. But later, probably because while he was in Parma, watching a lot of very, very young, a lot of movies in a cine club, and when I was in Rome, he met a great poet, at the time was Pier Paolo Pasolini, very, very good friend of his father, and they became a very good film director. He was also an assistant with him on the first picture, A Cattone. He started to think very intelligently that maybe can write, but not with the pen, maybe with the camera. So after an experience they did, written by Pasolini again, he really started his own first film before the revolution. And I mean, I was shocked in the way that he's so intense was his concentration to any shot, to any way they have to put in a screen, the sides, the length, and the rhythm. We should never forget that cinema is made by three main arts: images, music, and literature. Practically the length of a cinematography compared to photography is really the length that we are expressing ourselves and the rhythm connecting with the music. The experience was really fantastic. And when I finished this movie, I was so much those elements in my head that on going back to be a camera operator with another cinematographer, Marco Scarpelli, as well with Mr. Scavarda, I was trying to understand how I can use that experience as a camera operator in doing everything is possible to suggest to any director something that can be so connected with the story. Passing 5 years, I had the chance to call by another great Italian director, Franco Rossi, and he proposed to me to do his movie. The name was Giovinezza, Giovinezza, and I was 20 years old at that time. and I was happy that the movie was in black and white. At that time, there was a feeling that color cannot be captured very well by a film at that time. So mainly color film was a comedy, musical, or some kind of Western stereo picture. But if you want to do a dramatic picture, you have to use the connection, the conflict between light and shadows, black and white. And that was my first film. And Bernardo said saw this film, Giovinezza, called me on the phone. He told me, Vittorio, I am Bernardo. Do you remember me? And I say, Bernardo, I mean, since I met you, practically I dream to have the chance to lead the space that you were creating when we were before the revolution. And he told me, well, I had some problem myself. I went to psychoanalysis, and now I want to start with a very small picture made by the Italian television. Have to be very small. And but I think that after watching your film, I would like to start the journey with you. And from that moment on, we went almost to. He was 1 year younger than myself, but he was very, let's say, more expert in music, in literature, in any area. That for me was really a young, great master. Soon, very, very soon. The great thing was they started to speak with me about the vision of the picture, showing me a book about a painter called René Magritte. And he said to me, Vittorio, there is something about the surrealistic element that he has in this painting that I would like, I don't know how, we can be inspired into this picture. Well, while 5 years ago I was in Parma, in a very small restaurant outside the city, I saw some painting and I was able to buy two of them about one naive painter. His name was Antonio Ligabue, really born in that area of Parma. And I was shocked in watching all the painting of this gentleman that was so strong in the color. The chromatism was really strong, and the element of painting was very primitive. They usually work in any primitive painting, working during the Sunday or winter time when they are not working. Well, it was great to mix the surrealistic element of René Magritte with the primitive painting of the Covilli at that time. But one of the sequence, they really link the relationship between myself and Bernardo was the story is about a gentleman that was searching in a little town north of Parma, what's happened to his own father. His own father, years early, was training with another friend to make something very against an episode very against the fascist politics at that time. But at one moment he was so scared that practically he became a traitor. That's why all this story came from Borges, the little book, The Theme of the Hero and the Traitor. And at this moment, his own friend said, now we have to kill you. And he said, I think you're right. I made a mistake. I was wrong. You have to kill me. I have to pay for it. But don't kill me in any elementary way. Let's build something around my figure. Let's try to do something in the way that looked like that at the end. It was like I was being killed by the fascists. So I become an hero. So we can do something about my own life. They have to pay. They become something against the kind of politics we don't like in Italy in this moment. Well, he do all this pitch into a bell tower, a very tall one, and the movie was so really without not so money that we didn't have any generator. He practically have a sun gun, one few element of light that can hang on directly on on the power light of the city. And one moment I have an idea. And I say, Bernardo, what do you think? I mean, the fact that now he changed completely his own life. He want to become somebody different as a traitor. Practically become a kind of symbol. Why we don't see his own face? We make him completely in the black, as a black silhouette. Bernardo say, Vittorio, the idea is fantastic. I love it. But I don't like to start the sequence in this way because look like the audience can think, well, he's dark because we don't have any light to lit him. And that would be very wrong. So he said, let me try to start away from this window, from the first, another window, and we see him very well. While he's moving on this part, it should become in silhouette. So I organized with my Sangan to go away from him while he was moving. And the grip, Alfredo Marchetti, I said, you have to organize, he has a kind of black cloth, 4 meters wide, something like that, all around the camera, very tall. And while he's moving the actor, they were opening the black canvas, closing the other 3 windows around to us, creating the silhouette. Well, in my opinion, this was really the link between myself and Bernardo, because Bernardo, doing a lot of psychoanalysis, was used to do the kind of expression of the story in a very conscious way, part of it. Sanoda have to be almost in an unconscious side, almost deliver the no in a complete way, have to be suggested like a symbol. So practically using the conscious or the unconscious for him and using the light and shadow for myself, I think this would be, it was the link between myself and him. This other shot that we see now is a double exposure image photography that I was doing at the moment. Try to mix the element of René Magritte painting with the story of this man. Well, after this one, soon after, Bernardo proposed me to do the Conformist. The Conformist came from a story of Alberto Moravia. It's a story of a young boy that at 12 years old has some kind of episode that he was really, let's say, changed his own mind, and he thinking that he's different from anybody else. He tried to be conformist. This is myself and Bernardo at that time. Of course, we started again from an inspiration by a painting. René Magritte can come back once again. But one of the main sequences of the picture was when the leading character, played by Jean-Louis Trintignant, arriving in France, in Paris, and meet his own teacher that was in Italy before, and say, do you remember the last lesson that you gave it to us student before you left Italy for France? It was the Plato myth of the cave. What the Plato myth of the cave is? Probably some of you remember that. In the Plato myth of the cave, there is a cave where inside there are a lot of people that have been chained since they were born, and they were forced to look in front to them, looking at the back wall of the cave, and they see only some moving shadows. The moving shadow was created by a fire outside the cave, interrupted by people passing by with statue and flag, creating these moving shadows. The prisoner Plato believed that what they see is reality, because that's the only thing they know since ever. If you think for a moment, this myth is a great metaphor for cinema. The cave is like the film theater. The prisoner is like you guys at this moment, like audience, watching a screen, practically the back wall of the cave, like they were watching moving shadows, we are watching moving images. The myth says something great. Practically in cinema, reality do not exist. Anything in cinema is an imagination, is an interpretation. Absolutely. Practically art do not have I have to do something with reality. Math and of course an interpretation of reality. And this was the great element that I really studied in that moment. One of the last sequences that we did when there was the ball in a large ballroom, again, finally we had the chance to use the Magritte element in this case, because at the beginning, when they arrive in France, we have a sequence, we have an interior of the Dominique Sanda as a picture of these young people, they start dancing. And we have, because I was lucky, it was the beginning of December. And December in North Europe, particularly in France, it's mainly cloudy. Usually the sky is very dark. Practically look like it's a magic hour, like dusk through the entire day. While you are in interior, the artificial light warmer make particularly any light outside completely bluish. And I say to Bernardo, look how beautiful it is now, Paris. At that time, I didn't know the meaning of the color, honestly. But I felt that there was the bright color for this story. And I said, Bernardo, we shouldn't do just in this sequence. Usually, in many films, we have a chance to do one sequence or one shot at magic hour. No, every sequence in Paris should have this kind of look. So it really become a symbolic element, symbolic color. They do tell the symbolic way that is being used the city at that time. They were calling the city of the fuoriusciti, the people that was going out from Italy, going out from the fascist period in Italy. Same thing from Spain. They were going away from Franco, and they were going in Paris so they can have any moment, any discussion of politics without being free, without any problem. The last sequence, finally, the leading character understand, going through all the entire story. You know the Conformist very well, so you know why. But finally, he understands exactly who he is. And this combination of image, the wife waiting for him at home, and him have to decide if he's going to keep, practically don't say the truth to himself, or keep the truth with him, and stay over there. And I remember that I turned off every light, I let only the backlight to him, and there is a little fire next to him. They give me those kind of impression to do that. Soon we finish Conformist. Conformist had a great success at that time, I remember, particularly in the New York Film Festival, where many people, many directors asked to play again the picture. So the company Paramount asked to Bernardo to, if he can do another movie. And he wrote with Kim Marcalli, the great editor that did The Conformist, the story of Last Tango in Paris. He invited me at home to his house. He explained me the story, give me the script, and at the same time gave me 5 little scripts. And they say, Vittorio, this one is another project called 1900. It's something that I would like to do soon after, but for television. There are 5 episodes. And I say, Bernardo, please keep this script with you. Don't give it to me. Because otherwise I will do something against Last Tango in Paris. If I start, when I have to think in the way we're supposed to do Last Tango, and I read another script, I can be, maybe confused, let's say. So I gave it the script on 1900 to him alone. This is Grimaldi, the producer of Last Tango in Paris, Bernardo in the camera, like usually, myself and the live producer. And while I was while the tango was preparing in Paris, I was filming with Luca Ronconi, another beautiful project, Orlando Furioso, but I was going to Paris every weekend in order to do the location scout with Bernardo and the production designer. The last week that was just before preparing the last preparation of the picture and shooting, Bernardo came to pick me up at the airport and said, Vittorio, don't go to the hotel, come with me. Let's go to the Petit Palais. There is a painter his name is Francis Bacon. They look like he was like with us while we were doing the location. You remember when you arrived at the first Sunday, you said to me, Bernardo, we have to invent a kind of vision completely different from the vision of the conformist. Well, that Sunday morning, very early, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, wherever it was, again, the sky was very dark, and the artificial light in every window, every room, every magazine was on. The relationship between artificial energy this time, artificial light, very warm, very strong, compared to the natural one, was creating this kind of look of warm, or kind of color orange, almost the complementary of the blue of the conformist. And I said, Bernardo, look at this kind of thing. Everything is lit all around to us. Maybe we should do this kind of thing. And one is the time that maybe there is too much light. Maybe we should use this kind of sunset look on the beam of sun in order to keep this color. And he said to me, I like Vittorio, look like the Paris, the city of light. I love it. So let's try to do the best that we can. But also, Bacon has one, because if you look at this trittico, it's incredible. Like on the left side, you see somebody looking inside the room, and there is some kind of written word on the floor, like it was a script. In the middle room, there are two people making love in the round table, round bed. The room that we chose in the original location was really round again, also. And on the right side, there is a man with the camera, another man that look like making the critic of the picture. So look like exactly the metaphor of the picture. But Bacon also used in his portrait, making the close-up of the people in a very different way, like they have their own inner feeling in front of themselves. The love that I have, the relationship between darkness and light always came to me in any picture. So wherever I can go back in some image, in some moment to do something like that, I think I feel very strong in those two main elements of cinematography. But one sequence that was very interesting was one of the last sequences that was played on the Salle de Wagram in Champs-Élysées, very large room. It was huge. They were doing a lot of manifestation into that sale all the time. And in last temporary, I have only a small generator, even more or less 50 kilowatt, and I have a very few light that I was using in an apartment or in the room of the hotel. And I said to Bernardo, can I speak with the production designer yourself? Because I think I don't think I have enough light to do it in a standard way, the lighting of this scene. But can we both a very large number of this white globe, that we can put a good bulb inside, that we hang on the ceiling, a large number that we can of this globe, and this will be part of the set, part of the production designer, which can lit practically the entire room. And I have my best boy with a one small globe with a little light coming close to me. Anytime that we have Marlon Brando, Maria Snidely next to us, we can use as a key light another globe light, let's say. And that's the way that I was able to arrange completely this story. But soon after the great success the last Tango had, the 20th Century Fox, Paramount, everybody said, Bernardo, anything you want. What do you want to do? And he pulled out the 5 scripts of the 1900. They said, well, I would like to do 1900. And the producer, again, Grimaldi, said, well, let's see if we can, because I mean, this is a very large story. Anyhow, we started every day. Once in a while, I was telling Bernardo, I mean, you remember that we have almost 6 hours to play on this story. Say, Vittorio, let's do the best that we can. I hope, I feel, I believe that you can make something so beautiful that nobody will touch us. One way, the will of Bernardo was right. So we went in believing that we can do the entire 5 script or whatever, and after we can see how we can practically distribute it. Once again, with what was a kind of ritual that we were looking at some painting to have some kind of inspiration on to do the film. And I watched it to another naive painter, wonderful painter. It was Gino Covili from a little town called Pavullo next to Modena, not too far from Parma. And I love this great painting that was called the meeting for the prepared the formation of the cooperativa. And I said that this can be a great influence to me to do the sequence of the dinner of the worker people, but not using the artificial light on top of the table, but I have to use the sun on the setting time, in the sunset time for him. The movie has a lot of actors, honestly, from Burt Lancaster, Sterling Hayden, and many others. But the sequence that you see behind with the little kid really was something that inspired me to give the sense that poor people cannot use servant, cannot use oil lamp to lit during the dinner time. Only the master, only the owner of the land can use those kind of things. So practically, I made this sequence completely at the last moment of sunset, and I was even during the 5 minutes time of the sequence itself, using arc light, and step by step they were going down, going step by step, only finish on the close-up of the kid with the sun set on his face, till we were going on into the dusk time. But the actors continued to be enormous. Dominique Sandin was playing Ada, a great character. Romolo Valli, Alida Valli. We had Donald Sutherland, and so many other people, Robert De Niro, Gerard Depardieu with us. And at the end of the shooting, during the editing, Bernardo and the producer had a great idea to split all the almost 6 hours we did in 2 films. And we called it the 1900 Act 1, 1900 Act 2, which was delivered and presented at the audience. First Act 1 and only at least 1 week later, the Act 2. So people can see within 1 week, let's say, the entire movie, but basically was 2 completely different pictures, let's say. Here is Bernardo, as you can see, always checking the final shot to the camera, myself and Enrico Metelli, the camera operator. And we were using another painting for the second part. This is a great painter. It's called Pellizza da Volpeto, and the painter is called the Fourth State, practically the state of the worker, the very poor people. Here we have again Gerard Depardieu, Donald Sutherland, Stefania Sandrelli, Dominique Sandin, and De Niro. Really was for us what Gone with the Wind was for the American cinema. We can really tell that Novecento is an incredible journey in the century. We spent around 1 year exactly to filming. I remember that I went in Parma the day of my birthday, June 24, 1974, and we finished the next year in the name of my day, May 21st, practically 1 year of filming. After those kind of great projects, Bernardo thinking to do some story very intimate, a relationship about one young boy. They lost his father, and so he's almost searching his father all the time, till they have a very strong relation between him and his mother. But meanwhile, the Bernardo, we stopped 1900, and I did Apocalypse Now. As soon as Apocalypse Now, I realized that I cannot go on anymore using color and expressing in a Conformist, Tango, 1900, Apocalypse Now, the use of color without not knowing the meaning of color. So after Last Tango, I stopped in my house where I am right now, and I started to looking at every book is possible in philosophy. I started to understand the symbology, the physiology, the dramaturgy of color in order to continue the journey in a very conscious way. And when he proposed me the Luna, I understand the movie actually was the story of a mother. Why it was called Luna? Because Bernardo, since the beginning now, present himself very clear. They want to do a symbolic picture. And and that's, I understood I have to use the symbolic way to use color, the symbology of color. So not what it is, but what the color is for us. Which kind of color, when we were probably very young, and we witnessed some kind of episode that can be very in harmony, like a love, or very conflict, like a fight between our father and mother, or any other person. And we practically connect that episode with one color that maybe our mother has a red scarf. So practically, even if they make love, we connect love with red. Or maybe if it was in the conflict, our father has a blue jacket, we maybe see blue with the conflict symbol. Practically, this becomes something very personal. This is depend on our experience, particularly when we are very, 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 very young. This episode of Bernardo over here in La Luna, we went again in Parma to do one sequence because the leading character, G. Crable, was going to visit his own singer master. And he was looking again through the viewfinder in a square, but he was holding the viewfinder with the two hands, putting the viewfinder in his eyes, and he was walking forward, looking for the space of the next shot. I was just behind him, and suddenly I saw him disappear. He practically touched a chain that was in the square, separating the part for the normal pedestrian apart from the car that can be at the start, fall on the floor, completely standing with he didn't left the viewfinder. He practically arrived on the floor with the two elbows, and he broke the two elbows. So for a few days, a few weeks, he had to hold the viewfinder, the camera in this way. Our feeling of the painting of La Luna was this great element. This is practically was made by Carl Friedrich Tickler. It was a canvas, a huge canvas for a theater, for one Mozart opera. And I love it, the idea of those kind of sky, blue sky with also much star, and the woman standing right on the edge of the quarter of the Luna, which was very, very symbolic to me. We filmed it in Sabaudia. It's a little town just next to the sea of Roma, and in a beautiful house that later Bernardo bought it from himself. And in the theater, we had the chance while she was singing the opera Rigoletto to using the light of the theater, practically reminding to us those kind of painting that we had at the beginning. But one of the sequences really touching was the sequence of the death of Pierpaolo Pasolini. As I mentioned to you, Pierpaolo Pasolini was a very good friend of Bernardo's father, so the old Bernardo's family. Bernardo was very influenced by him as a poet and also as a filmmaker. He became director. At that time, Bernardo was his assistant in the first picture called Accattone. He made afterwards several beautiful, very interesting pictures. But at one moment, he died. He was killed in the periphery of Rome. And Bernardo put in memory of him this sequence in La Luna in a kind of periphery bar. He called all the actors, there were no professional actor at the beginning when Pasolini called him in a little bar. I loved very much the set because those written neon sign Zanzibar behind was green color. So I used all the green color to the actor as well to give him those kind of feeling of a kind of hope in the future. And those sequences, them looking at the television when the news are speaking about the death of Pierpaolo Pasolini. Really a sequence that was very touching for everybody. All these people that was there, the boys of the play all the time, film with Pasolini, they were crying all day long. And this is how the picture was staying in my mind so strongly. Well, time passed by. Bernardo, while I was in Russia making Peter the Great, a great story, a revolutionary Tsar practically for Russia, at the time we were communicating through telegram, or you have to reserve a telephone call a day before to speaking to each other. And Bernardo said, Vittorio, I send you two little book. Is the diary of Asinjoro Puyi, the last emperor of China. Read and let me know what you think. Well, I never thought that in reading those two little books, we practically were programming 1 year later to be at the Academy Award to receive so many Academy Awards, everybody that was receiving a nomination. And I was so happy to receive with Bernardo at the same time, Best Cinematography and Best Director. So reading the book, the two books of the Asinjoro Puyi, this is a kind of painting showing the Forbidden City and the great building of the Supreme Harmony, where usually the emperor crowned, let's say. I had an idea because the story was when he was an adult, China changed from monarchy to republic. Practically, he was thrown out from his Forbidden City, and he was put in a rehabilitation center, the re-education center that they have to redo his own self-analysis. He have to understand what every mistake they did in all his life, particularly the last one, when he wants to build again the empire in Manchuria, called the Manchukuo, with the Japanese country. So I said to Bernardo, in every time that we are going backwards, in flashback, while he's writing his order, will be great. We can give a specific color to each one of them. So making the different age of our life with the different color into the white light, practically making a combination, a relationship between light and life. So we are using the first sequence when the little child was taken away from the mother with torches, and also we have the red color, like the beginning of the color spectrum, which is the beginning of life. When the little child was living into the Forbidden City, orange color was a kind of feeling of the to live into your family, into your house. The family was different. He has 3,000 acres, unique, I don't know how to say it exactly, eunuchi. And also the house is not the normal house. It was the Forbidden City, but that was the feeling of symbolic. Yellow, when it's practically become conscious to be an emperor. Green, when the English tutor arriving, giving to him an homage like a green bicycle, symbol of freedom, symbol of knowledge, when we have the 20 years old. Later, blue, when he was thrown out from the Forbidden City, practically the color of freedom, the color when we have 40 or 50 years old. And indigo, when he became again an emperor, rebuilding the Manchuria empire, which is the color of physical power. Violet, the last color, when he practically we are understand everything, when we assume practically all of our life, he understand in a screening room practically all the mistakes they did. And at that moment, when he was going to receive a diploma as changing between an emperor into a free citizen, if he's giving a diploma in a courtyard, with Bernardo, we decided to put the fake snow on the floor to have the feeling of white, like white light, like what symbol. Well, soon we finished filming in China. While we were traveling in our plane in Rome, Bernardo started to explain to me the new idea that he has in his mind to do Sheltering Sky from Paul Bowles' book, a story about two people, man and woman, husband and wife, that they love each other very much, but they are not able, particularly him, to transfer this love between them. A story that when I heard, also because I was so still into The Last Emperor again, we have not finished, we have to do some sequence in the Cinecittà studio. And it was not the story that I felt that there was part of myself, I don't know. And, but I know that I cannot give an answer no to Bernardo. I know very well. But I was scared that I didn't know what to do. I didn't have an idea when we finished Last Emperor. So Bernardo, they bought the house of the Luna in Sabaudia, not too far from my apartment that I have also have in Sabaudia, came every afternoon almost for several days, tried to convince me and tried to say, Vittorio, don't worry. I'm sure that if you come with me in a week's time, we start the location in Africa. I'm sure that you will have all the idea that you want, looking at the location. We speak about all the story, don't worry about it. I know that I should, even if I had 1 week only with my family in Sabaudia, I have to say yes to him. And I started to think how I can put together this story. And all the time we start with starting with the painting. This is a Gaspar David Friedkin painting. It is fantastic because it has this kind of imagination, this kind of mystery of what they're looking at. They're looking at the kind of the moon rising. And it is the same feeling that Port, the male characters, and this one is a sequence very specific. The two of them arriving in bicycle in this little hill, and they watching this beautiful, wonderful Sahara desert. Port is so enchanted by this infinite look that even if he tried to make love to his wife, he cannot succeed. Is something that is completely impossible for him to go do something physical, being so intellectually into those kind of concepts. the image of Deborah Winger, the wife on the left, is what she became when actually Port, sick of malaria, died, and I had him die because I started the picture with him with all the different kind of light that we have during the daytime. You know, when we receive a script, most of the time it's only written day or night. Well, I think during the day there is aurora, dawn, morning, day, afternoon, sunset, dusk. So many shapes, so many steps. You can change the light, the tone, the relationship with shadow, the color, and in my opinion, the connection with it is symbolically of the man journey from birth to death, and the sun journey from dawn to sunset. It can be a very symbolic putting together. And that's what I was doing with Port. And at the moment the Port died, Kate, the wife, now she's going to the desert and living all the moon different revolution, and started her own journey as a woman with the blue color. Little Buddha was in a kind of destiny. We have to go into this kind of possibility. For myself particularly, a friend of mine, Luigi Bazzoni, gave me a book about Sri Yogananda a few years ago. And in the history, the autobiography of a yogi, there was some kind of so beautiful testimony from Yogananda to us. They were so great that I gave a copy of this book to Bernardo. And Bernardo said to me, well, Vittorio, I don't know if I read this book right away, but I keep next to me, don't worry. Well, after the last temporary, after a while, one day he called me and said, well, I was sitting on the chair, and suddenly my look went to a color of the cover of the book. I took the book, I read it, and well, it's fascinating me. So I would love to start this journey about the history of Siddhartha coming and become Buddha, the enlightened man. But no way that I can be so ready in a short time. I'm supposed to become Buddhist myself in order to do the movie in a proper way. So he was enchanted at the same time about reincarnation. Whatever happened in a Buddhist concept, the once particularly great spiritual leader are passing the time of the body and the consciousness and going to death. There is the kind of spirit, the kind of energy that flew away and going to reincarnate in another great spiritual leader. And there is a kind of continuation. It's like we have to do so many reincarnation in our physical state in order to reach really the enlightenment, completely at the ecstasy. This is the kind of concept. Well, another gentleman said something similar in a different way. He was a great scientist. Said energy is nothing else than matter, the moving itself in the light square time. Albert Einstein. Practically everybody say the same thing. Our journeys go from matter to energy. Well, he said, so I would like to do mainly the journey of those reincarnation, and then telling the story of Buddha, and not to be directly in a Buddha story. This image between us is the fact that I received in an incident a piece of wood on top of my head. I was hurt myself. But those great paintings that I find in Kathmandu, where we were going to film him, practically tell the entire different episode of the story of the Siddhartha. Well, once again, I tried to say, but why I started my creative life in dividing the light from shadows. After I was practically going from darkness to light, the first journey. After I opened the white light in the different color, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, only when they are together, they become white. So I was going from black to white. Why are dividing all the time everything in order to understand something? Of course, to respect the other side, because each one can be a symbolic visual element for a man and a woman from two different moments of our life. From are we growing up during the day when we are physically living, or during the night when we are dreaming? Are we using more our unconscious or our consciousness? What is our part? They are physically, can be male or female. The relationship between myself and my wife, my different generations, so on. There is always a kind of connection of different elements. So I started to study again from the Greek philosopher, from Plato and so on. What they said is that matter is composed by 4 basic elements: earth, fire, water, and air. And I said that, wait a minute, maybe now I need to try to see only what's coming out if you put it together, those 4 elements in harmony. And the story there said, from matter, you can have those 4 elements. Only when they are in harmony, you can create energy. So now I have a different element that can give maybe a symbolic, some kind of color, the color of the earth, the color of the fire, the color of the water, the color, and I can amplify my vocabulary, but at the same time, I need to try why I was dividing everything in order to find the meaning of my own life. Well, arriving in Kathmandu, the Sacrario in Kathmandu is the Sacrario of Buddha. It is made exactly in archaeological building as the connection of the 4 basic elements. The base has a square form, which means the earth. The semicircle on top look like a breast, is a symbol of water. The eyes on top of them, symbol of fire. The top hat, symbol of air. So practically, the Sacrario Buddha, where some of his elements are inside, and everybody going to there to pray for in the order of reaching the balance of any other life, is made by the 4 basic elements. Keanu Reeves was playing Siddhartha, and the master that was searching for his reincarnation of his own master, great master, practically was trying to find those new birth in different countries. They were in connection with the United States, with India, with Nepal, and so on. So he's making a journey and find a young boy in Seattle, and I made Seattle with the look of the air. Practically, the Seattle is a very new, even cultural way, particularly at the time in America. And I was using the more top of the element, the air, so the color blue. So I practically designed the entire light on Seattle completely blue. And after they discovered there is a boy that looked like as born exactly at the same time that his great master died. He had some kind of attitude that looked like something similar to the great master. So he asked to the father and mother to take this boy with them, going to to Tibet and to search if he really is the reincarnation of his own great master. But later, he knew there is another boy in Kathmandu that there is a completely different, in a completely different way. And I, let's say, visualize this young boy in Kathmandu, which is a country that is totally in evolution, removing like the fire element. I was using a lot of sunset beam of light in a very color red. And while the two of them are moving as a possible reincarnation, they discover there is another young girl in India. And they go in India into a kind of forest where they live in. So there is now a young girl with a living next with the element of water, the element of green. So practically in my mind, I said, well, my God, not only if I started with the teacher that practically has the symbol of earth because he's nourish the young student, like the mother earth nourish all of us. So he's the earth, and the other three are the other three. Practically only together they can be the reincarnation. And only that, but each one is the three primary colors, red, green, and blue. So Bernardo at that time was say to me, Vittorio, it's hard for me to decide. In the script is not final, the idea. Who can be selected as the proper reincarnation? And I say, Bernardo, I'm thinking visually also the same problem. And in my opinion, I don't think there should be selected only one. So we went to the Rinpoche. Rinpoche is like a cardinal for us. They was following us all the time, giving to us all the advice. And we ask what we can do, because all the example that they tried, the examination, they tried the three children, more or less all the three answer in a very positive way. And so he said, well, that's possible. We had already some example when we select two and instead of one. Now it's three. Practically into our mind, practically, if you think of the balance of the human being, there are three main elements: the body, the speech, and the mind. So each one of them can represent one portion of it, of him. And so practically it was declared that the three of them all together practically can be the reincarnation of the great master. For me, it was a great teaching lesson, in a sense that I understood that also myself, that I was searching for understand the meaning of my life, that practically I feel that in a body way, in a matter way, we are a very single person. Each one of us has a specific figure. We speak different language. We think in different way. But when we move from matter to energy, honestly, I'm not completely Buddhist. So I don't believe that this personal my energy go to reincarnate in the new little kid or girl that is going to be born at that moment. I don't think so. What I think, which is the same thing that Bernardo came up with, our energy going into everybody energy. So practically, we are not reincarnating directly in one person, but the energy reincarnated in all energy of everybody. Which is a great idea in my mind, because it means that we came in the future, we all together, all of you guys that are over there, me over here with my family, so on, we can be all together in a huge energy feeling. And that would be a fantastic, that can be discovered in a new great light. But when we finish Little Buddha, I didn't know that something very important happened to me again. After a few months, Bernardo called me in my house in Sabati and said, Vittorio, I would like to meet with you, have lunch with you in the restaurant. So I have something to tell you. And I was surprised, because usually we were having lunch at my house or his house. we went to a restaurant nearby, and I saw him, was very embarrassed. At the end, they came out after finished the lunch. Vittorio, I have to tell you something, that I feel that I have the feeling that I need to continue my journey in cinema alone. Because I felt almost that everybody all around the world that take my name and that there is your name attached to myself. And I don't know if I can make it without you, but I need to feel to do it. And I say, well, Bernardo, I mean, I was shocked. I mean, particularly after Mały Budda. And I said, Bernardo, it's up to you. You have to feel comfortable with yourself. And then if you need to try, let's go. Let's do it. And we left each other. But I never left him, in a sense that as I did in the first 25 years of living together on a set, I always follow every print to every movie that we did, every reprint, every transfer from film to video, every restoration, anything that was done through in Rome, in Technicolor Los Angeles, London, New York, wherever it was, I was always taking care of our films. I never left our film by alone, and I did that free. Till 1995, Cinecittà International, in the name of Vittorio Giacci, called me and said to me, Vittorio, it's few years that we are doing an homage to great Italian director at Cannes Film Festival. Now is the centenary of cinema next year, 1996. I would like to make an homage to Bernardo Bertolucci, his filmography. You did most of his movie, the most important one. Can you follow to the restoration of this movie, and we can present it to Cannes Film Festival? And I say, why you say restoration when Little Buddha is made not even a year ago? So it's not deteriorated. Like, don't forget, color film deteriorated, get the fading 1% almost every year. Practically, the Conformist has 50 years. Anytime there was scanning, retiming, I was seeing the color, the saturation, that I was losing a lot. So I said to them, well, we call restoration because the government helping us in money in order to reprint or redo everything, redo over some kind of manifestation. Well, I can understand that even when I reprint, I change the balance between the three colors, is a little restoration anyhow. Okay, let's do it. But I don't want to do that. This is a huge work. And after, I know that as soon as I leave them, they will start to going down again and going to continue the kind of fading. I would like to preserve everything we did. It's too many times I already reprint the Conformist, Last Tango, 1900, so on. And they said to me, but Vittorio, it will cost too much. We cannot afford it. They say, wait a minute. Let me speak with the president of the different company. We were lucky that we had just a few years before the 90 Oscar from the Last Emperor. So I called Ripetit, he was the president of Kodak in Europe. And I said, at that time, I don't know if you know this, there was one solution to stop the fading, and it was called silver master separation. Practically the three main color, red, green, blue, the primary color, can be transferred, printed through three different filters in a three black and white film. The black and white film, they owns the memory of the red, green, and blue color, but in black, in silver, cannot fade. That's why this is an old system from Technicolor when they were doing the matrix. And that's why the major company in America, also in England, when they're working with a major company in America, they do that in their own film. That's why we can see Gone with the Wind, made in 1939, or Cinderella or Snow White, because they start from the silver master separation. They kept the memory of the color. Otherwise, every film is going to fade. No way. Practically, the movie that you're going to see now at CAMERIMAGE this year, unless each company is doing the duplication in different master in digital version every at least 3, maximum 5 years, well, you don't arrive at 10 years. Every movie that existing today do not exist any longer. That's the major problem. The people, they usually, I don't know any cinematographer or any director or any producer that take care of this kind of thing, unless the major company. And I said to repeat it, if we don't do something, even in France, when you live, France doesn't have this system because it's too expensive. So is Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Brazil, Argentina, wherever. Only United States, only in Los Angeles they can do those kind of things. They can afford it because it's costly. Help me. Let's do this series of Bernardo Bertolucci's film. We have 9 movies that I did with him in color. And so we can maybe present, if you have to, of course, help me in making this system not so expensive, but affordable from average medium film. So we can make an example, make a big, let's say, example in all around the world. He gave me everything I need. Fantastic. He gave me not only my film, 9 films, but film, one positive for just see the state of each film, an inter-positive, inter-negative, silver master separation, the soundtrack, everything for all the Bertolucci's film. I put everything in Cinecittà. In Cinecittà, very, very strongly take the decision to start the system of silver master separation, developing a printing that doesn't have in Italy at that moment. The technical helped me in making every reprint, the first reprint they have to do. I can give the print to them, the film, but they have to use the laboratory practically for almost grant, for nothing. So I was able to do the entire series of Bertolucci, reprinted, restored, preserved in those kind of system in the photochemical time. Recently, there was another moment in 2010, another president of Cinecittà called me for the same story. We want to do Bertolucci's filmography in New York at MoMA. Vittorio, can you take care to do the reprinting and restoring of all your movie? And I said, well, I would like to start from the silver master separation. And they said, Vittorio, I'm sorry, we have the silver master. We own the silver master, but we have only 2 weeks of the time they can give it to us the time to show the picture. So I have to practically restarting again from the scanner of even a 4K 16-bit color, very important number. Was okay, but was not exactly in the way that was 25 years before or 50 years before. Recently, the MoMA period, I went to Bernardo's house and I say, Bernardo, what we saw is okay. I mean, we done our best. I use in all the possible way system. Silver matte. I use the ENR. I use the flash. I use the everything they could do, but we cannot do any longer. So I would like to use now digital system, where we can not only print in one light the entire frame, but we can go in the different window, and so we can pull out the different images and tonality, but starting from the silver master separation. And in this way, practically, the movie is not old 50 years, but only 20, but in black and white. So practically it's there, all the color. And I would like to do that, Bernardo. And after there is one incredible project called D.O.T.S, D.O.T.S, Digital-Tape-System, Digital Digital-Optical-Tape-System, because optical is the most important word next to digital. Digital itself, many people think, well, I did the digital, I did the transfer. No, the digital area is fading much more faster than the film before. So I have to be at the same time visible. Otherwise, it's not perfect. I met this system in Technicolor, in Rochester, in the main company of Kodak, where they were making those kind of exploration. Example, in one prototype, they show me those pieces of kind of frisbee. They practically sculpture with the laser beam inside of those elements. Those elements came from the NASA. They were doing the ship they go on the sky with this kind of. Practically, they said to me, Vittorio, we can do some experiment and see how we can alter rating, how we can destroy this information. We went far, 500 years. We was not able to destroy this information. This is fantastic new element. I said, well, can be used from the. See, if you can put in a kind of hard disk that we can put in the digital camera, practically we can have a new film, something that is completely new from the old film. At the beginning, in the camera, in the editing, in the visual effect, in the screening, in the release print, or in archive, the image is always perfect forever. This can be fantastic. You don't believe, but the president at the time was influenced by one of his assistants that said, well, today the young people want the electronic, so we have to go with the electronic. The Kodak, there was a desire, change the electronic, fall down. As you know today, they try now to change and do something. Some of the young students think that if they can go back to film, even if it's 8mm or 60mm, can be better than movie. This is a major mistake, because the movie is not better because it's recorded on film or in digital. It's better if you have good idea. That's the most important thing. If it's using properly your artificial light connected with your natural light connecting to the story. So I put in together all these projects in the Cinecittà laboratory today, and now I already done a little Buddha, that 1900, I will do very soon Conformist, and the project is 3 year time I need at least, and I present to this project, they include also one book, the page that you see over here is the book, and the one exhibition about so many photographs that I did in double exposure in order to have the duality between two images. And I present all this project called the Vittorio Storaro in the film of Bernardo Bertolucci. So practically print, restoring, preserving, make masterclass, building a book and an exhibition, a project to the Italian Ministry of Culture. Dario Franceschini, the minister, I really thank him so much, you cannot believe, give me his own patronage. Practically, this project become part of the Italian state. So Cinecittà now is put in the room, all the technical element, the colorist, a supervisor of the laboratory falling to me. I'm doing all this kind of work free. Practically, probably in 6 month time next year, we can have the D.O.T.S ready for using in Cinecittà, and we can, in a very much less amount of money, is even less than 1/10 the cost that there was before in the serial master separation in the photochemical time. Really, really low cost. Thinking that Cinematic Separation costs $80,000 for one movie. The dots can cost, depend on the kind of element you have to start at the beginning, between $2,000 or $4,000. Can you believe it? And practically you don't have 18 boxes like that, because each large roll of negative, we need 2 rolls to do the cinematic separation. So it's 18 box like that as a space. In dots, you have like 5 cartridges, like that. That's all. Practically, this can be really a great push, not for only the Bertolucci's series, but for not all the film archive in Italy, but any film archive in the world, any kind of level of the production of project, because it would be so easy that, and I prayed to the ministry to say, Ministry, you should help the Italian film like any other cultural center in any country should do, not only helping the restoration, but putting 2 words together, restoration and preservation. Thank you very much. I will do all my best next year to come in CAMERIMAGE, to bring one of the movies that we restored, and to, if Marek will give me the room, we can do also the exposition, photo cinematography exposition, and the book as well. Have a good time in CAMERIMAGE. See you next year. Bye-bye.
Emocjonujących wrażeń życzy Energa z Grupy Orlen. Sponsor strategiczny festiwalu EnergaCAMERIMAGE.
Electronic medical services available to the residents of the Kujawsko-Pomorskie Voivodeship. Results from ultrasound and X-ray machines are immediately transferred onto the doctor's computer and are available online. What does it mean for you? Faster diagnostics, no waiting in queues, easy communication with doctors from different units, and access to test results at any time. We provide electronic medical documentation for you.
Toruń znajduje się na liście Światowego Dziedzictwa Kulturowego UNESCO. To też miejsce, które kocha film z wzajemnością, stając się planem zdjęciowym dla wielu produkcji. Ciekawe plenery pomoże Ci szybko znaleźć kujawsko-pomorski geoportal. Największa przestrzenna baza wiedzy o regionie. To publiczny, darmowy, dostępny dla każdego zbiór map. Prezentuje m.in. ponad 1 000 000 działek, budynków, drogi, placówki oświatowe, zabytki i obszary chronione. Wejdź na geoportal Mój Region Info i kręć w Kujawsko-Pomorskiem.
i daj się porwać emocjom.
Prawdziwe przeżycie. Coś dla każdego.
Spędź jesień z kanałami Filmbox.
Poruszające biografie.
Uciekam przed nienawiścią.
Historyczne zwycięstwa. Filmy pełne wzruszeń i emocji.
Raz się żyje.
W listopadzie w Kino Polska.
Włącz RMF Classic i zmień swój świat. RMF Classic. Najpiękniejsza muzyka filmowa.
Fakty RMF. Najbardziej wiarygodne źródło informacji. RMF FM. Radio numer 1 w Polsce.
Szybka, intuicyjna, przejrzysta, nowa RP.pl. Polecam redaktor naczelny Cezary Szymanek.
Nadszedł czas, by usiąść w kinowym fotelu. Poczuć dreszcz filmowych emocji. Otoczyć się ekranami Screen X. Poczuć każdy ruch i zakręt z 4DX. I powtórzyć to kolejny raz i kolejny. Ile tylko chcesz. Najwyższy czas poczuć magię kina w najlepszym wydaniu. Przeżywaj więcej w Cinecittà.
Partnerem motoryzacyjnym festiwalu kamer Image jest Autofreak, autoryzowany dealer Mercedes-Benz.
Chcesz być z nami? Zaszczep się.